only Pop Rock Radio. Estás escuchando Jamie Roxx de Pop Rock Radio. Manténganse al tanto.
Hej, det här är Hits från Sverige och ni lyssnar till Pop Rock Radio med Jamie Roxx.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is the Pop Roxx Radio Talk Show. I'm your host, pop art painter Jamie Roxx, and this is the big show. You found it. I'm glad you did. As are our advertisers. Remember to support them. The internet is a trickle-down economy, meaning when checks are mailed and sent to eventually a much reduced check will trickle down to me. My wife can buy expensive shoes and I can buy expensive food for my dog. Jesus Christ. I'll cut that out. Anyway, we've got a fantastic band on tonight. I like these guys a lot. They're from one of my favorite cities, Seattle, Washington. Every time I go there, I'm like, is there ever a downhill? Every place I go, I'm walking uphill. I got to come down from here at some point. But it doesn't seem to be the case. I'm always going uphill. Cap Hill, I'm always going up there. Just up from the... Last time I went, I took the Greyhound to you guys' fair city. That's an experience, or it was 15 years ago, that Greyhound station there at the base of Capitol Hill. And, oh, baby, reminded me, I grew up in Detroit, and it reminded me of Detroit, I got to say. A few places. And I've been to Oakland. Oakland didn't remind me of Detroit as much as that particular Greyhound station. It was pretty rough, but entertaining. Anyhow, the name of the band is a very cool name, and we're going to get into all of this, how this came about and everything, because it's an interesting story. This is Death by Overkill. It's fantastic, and I like you guys a lot on this. This is great music from what I've heard so far. Yeah, I've been doing a deep dive on YouTube, playing it a lot here in the studio, playing it a lot this past month in the studio. And yeah, good stuff. Tell us a little bit how the band came about and what other bands did you guys coalesce from? And you're still in those other bands, I'm assuming. I could be wrong on that. How did all this happen?
Lay it on us, Stace.
This particular band came together out of necessity. We have an annual charity event that happens every year in Seattle for the rock community. It's called the All-Star Porn Jam, and it basically has a concept like fantasy football where you're picking musicians from your favorite bands around town and making a super group for one night. And all the proceeds go to Northwest Harvest and Pause, which are two great charities here in the Seattle area. Anyway, fast forward, we put this group together for that charity event with actually some different people initially. And then about a month later, a friend was Jeff Campbell, who's now in Minneapolis. I don't know. Anyway, Jeff was coming through on tour and needed an opener. And we're like, why don't we put that same band back together as an opener? And so we start to do that. We start to put together a set. At that point, we hadn't really written any originals. It was still covers. So we were scrambling and didn't have a name. And so I think Will and I were in a car driving, bouncing ideas off of each other. And at one point I said something to the effect of, that would be Overkill. And your whole life is Overkill. And we were laughing, Death by Overkill. So that's how it came about.
Nice.
Yeah.
How cool is that? I tell people, go ahead. I didn't mean to overtalk you. I apologize.
Oh, no, I was just going to say the band was not supposed to become a band because we were already in other bands. And that was the big thing. Stacy's in the Furniture Girls and also the Highsteppers. And I'm in the Adarna, and I was in the Slants, and it was just very busy, both of us. Like, we're full-time musicians pretty much. And so it was like, no, we don't have enough time for another band. But it's interesting when you put something on the back burner about how and you say, hey, look, this is not my serious group. I'm not taking this seriously. But look, we're just having fun.
What?
And with the guise of fun, we actually started doing for some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a couple thoughts. I mentor some kids, some new painters. I shouldn't say kids, but because I do have somebody who's older than me. It's part of my Patreon thing. At a certain level, you get X amount of mentoring, not on how to paint, but how to run your art business. Everybody's always telling me, we want to be where you're at, where you don't have to have a straight job. And I'm like, how do we do that? And I'm like, paint for 20 years and it's easier to do. But the reality is, and I tell I firmly believe, and you know me, Will, I am not Mr. do-gooder religious guy or any, this is not about that. But I tell them, I said, it behooves you to meet in your community. And this may mean go into a soup kitchen or a food pantry, or is a great place to meet, talk to the people running those things. Suddenly, because all those people hang out, just like any scene, they all know each other and shit. And you'll find out what charity things are going on in your community. And you pick one that's something that would be interested in what you're doing. And I try to do a charity event at least once a month. I donate paintings at least once a month to something.
Yeah.
And it gets you fantastic press. You're doing good for some cause. That's the main thing. And yeah, you can talk to an accountant and you can probably write stuff off and everything. But I don't know, I never do. But the thing is, you're helping out your community. That's the main thing. But you're making network. Print yourself some business cards when you do that.
Yeah.
I have yet, if I donate a $300 painting, I will make that back 10 times in work. You know what I mean? I've never not had that experience. That's how consistent it is. And like I said, it's a great way to get your name in the paper and what you're doing. And look at you guys formed a whole new musical thing, a whole band out of this. And then I've said this so many times on this show. I've never been in a band. I've never really had any musical ability. I was technically in a band in high school, but they basically said, Jamie, you know a lot of girls, you've got crazy hair, you're going to play keyboards. And I'm like, I don't know how to play keyboard. And they're like, don't worry, we'll program everything. You just stand by the keyboard. And so that lasted 3 weeks. That was my experience of being in a band. But I've never had that. But I always hung out with musicians because they were cool, had the best parties, knew the most people. And I've always been really jealous of bands and musicians and music. And the main reason is, I don't know, Stacey, I don't know how it is for women. I have no frame of reference for that. But as guys, you can ask any guy anywhere, what song was playing the first time you ever kissed a girl? Like a for real kiss, like this is the real kiss type deal. And they'll know. Incidentally, that'll be the music that their fallback music for life, because it's burned in their brain. You know what I mean?
The Mac, right?
No,
it wasn't mine.
But if you ask anybody, what painting was hanging on the wall the first time? They have no clue. Nobody ever notices that because there's no connection there. That they know the song. And you guys have that power. That is mainline communication with your audience in their vein. You know what I mean? It is direct. And I respect that a lot. I do not. Painters got to work a little harder than that. I'm not saying musicians don't work hard, but I think there's a more accessible response. Perhaps I'm painting the wrong paintings. Maybe that's the problem.
Your art can elicit a response, and that's not too much we're aiming for with music. I can tell you, Stacey and I are both very big in art too, and so we like that gallery style of everything, where you're just paintings everywhere, and if you feel something, you get inspired by surrounding yourself around that it's really easy, since you're being surrounded by so much creativity, to create in your own way. And I've always felt like the music is just one particular medium for the soul, where creativity, it can spread over everything. It could be
true.
How you wire a computer. It could be how you're like, check it out, I'm vacuuming the floors in this cross pattern. Isn't it so creative? I've never seen anybody do this. It's so clever.
I do that with mowing the lawn. I try to figure out which is the most efficient way to do this. I don't know. Anyway, when you guys are writing a song, though, the cool thing is about music as well is you may have something in your mind that you're writing about, a person, situation, a play, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's relatable to somebody on some other on their relatability score. You know what I mean? Which, oh, this reminds me of that time I found that alligator when I was visiting Florida. And you're like, what? What are you talking about? We don't even mention Florida or an alligator. What do you? But everybody has a different interpretation. Where you look at something like writing or a book, reading a book or something, a novel, that's much more direct on what the lay of the land is, per se. Music's cool. I like your guys' music. You guys' music is awesome. That could be theme. I'll sit here and be painting and listening to music, and I'm like, man, this could be music to kiss a girl to. This could be music to rob a bank to. Both are equally as intense.
Feel that tagline, music to rob a bank to.
I'm writing it down.
But
Just
yeah, children out there, do not go rob any banks. Although, if you want to be famous, that is an easier way. Ask these two. All of us creative, self-employed people, we're all like, yeah, 80 hours a week, we're happy to get that because usually it's more. Try playing a set to, these guys will tell you, try playing a set and then be part of the teardown.
Yeah.
Drive somewhere else. Jeez. A lot of work.
It's brutal. That's the romantic part of it. That's what I really got into it, for the weightlifting aspect of it.
Oh, man. That's a good question. That's a good place. What is your guys' background? When you were a young lad and a young lass, did Rockstar, was that the goal? Did you have that thought, or how did that start, this passion for music, this journey?
I think we have similar backstories where we were rooted more in theater first and
Theater
acting.
kids.
Oh, I thought it was vengeance. Okay.
So I was definitely more on the theater. I did a lot of plays and whatever. And it wasn't until later that I started getting into music. It was always there. I just didn't have the confidence. And I don't think it was until I was about 22 seeing a friend's band that had a guest vocalist come up and sing with them. And these were not just like friends, like I was a mega fan of this band. And to me, when they had this person get up and sing with them, it was like crushing my soul. It's like, you're ruining it. You're bopping around, and this is like this goth industrial band, and you're in like bike shorts.
Right.
And I'm killing me. So I approached them that night after the show and said, give me a shot. I can do better. And that's how it all started.
That's amazing. Number one, you say my lack of confidence. The amount of balls it takes to approach a band with that. I hope
just
some
how
young
angry
lady out here is watching that and takes notes, because that is brilliant. I am super impressed with that.
I don't think my origin story is too different. I think I was watching something, I was like, that can't be as good as it gets. He was
at a Bowie show, ladies and gentlemen. You have to understand. No, I just say that because of the lightning.
I think he was talking about just like their whatever a band that was. They were just like, this is one of the best bands out there. I was like, he doesn't even sound like he's singing or in tune. Is that okay? Are you allowed to do that? And they're like, so what happens if you sing in tune?
Amazing. It is. I remember I was telling you about that band I was in. I wasn't in a band. I was set dressing at the most. But then Duran, my girlfriend at the time, this gal, I wasn't a girlfriend, just some gal I was hanging out with. You're in high school. It's one of those type of deals. And she wanted to go see Duran real bad. And so I got tickets and we went down to see Duran. I wanted to see how their keyboard player was standing at the keyboards. Could I improve my game, perhaps? And he did. And I even brought binoculars. I'm like, oh, let's just see exactly any nuances of this. I was taking it real serious. And then I discovered none of the keyboards were plugged in at all. It was all pre-recorded. And I'm like, I wasn't even a Duranie, you know what I mean? I was just I'm like, and I was telling the musicians in the band, there were actual music, and they're like, oh yeah, all these big acts, a lot of them do that. And I'm like, Prince is doing that? And they're like, maybe not Prince, but a lot of the others. And I was disappointed. I'm like, I can't believe it. And so then I started dating a punk girl, and then we started going to punk shows. And there was this bar called the Greystone, which was an abandoned bank. It wasn't even a real bar. They hooked their electric system up with This is Detroit. This is how Detroit used to be. And they had jumper cables. They spliced into the power lines, and that's what ran the club. It was pretty crazy. But I saw some real bands, Son of Sam, all these old Agent Orange, all these old timey kind of punk bands, and those guys, there was no fake keyboard or any of that. They were sweating, and because they were working hard. They were crazy. And I was all new waved out, I remember, and she was a real punker. But nobody messed with me because I was with her. So it all worked out. She would have destroyed anybody. But I was afraid of her. But anyway, real bands, real working bands like yourselves. I watch these YouTube videos, and you guys have a ton of live performance. That's what I'm seeing on YouTube. And folks, by the way, we have band links and clickable links and all that stuff. It's probably the links are flying around your screen, but those aren't clickable. But the ones in the description are, and they're right there. Yeah, you guys, I watch these live videos and stuff, and I'm like, dang, they know what the hell they're doing. Stacy comes out, starts belting. I'm like, geez, Louise. It's like watching Pat Benatar, because that was the big thing when I was a kid. Everybody's Pat Benatar is good because she's an opera singer, and I'm like, I don't know what Stacy is, but she knows how to. She's got a set of pipes on her. And Will's there with his guitar. It's good. It's really good. Absolutely, and it's not. It doesn't come across. It comes across authentic. It doesn't come across as choreographed. I didn't see any X's. And maybe there were, but I just didn't see them. But I don't know about this kind of stuff. I'm just an audience person. I'm out here looking at the video, but I was really impressed with it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, it's been really easy for this group to be creative. Everybody in the group, all four of us are singers, and we could easily each run our own band, and then we all play multiple instruments. So I think it's nice. I think we're all really good at listening to each other, and because a lot of people are just trying to go and check out my rip and riff over this, or my sick drum beats on top of it. But you're not the focus right now.
Right.
We're trying to and because we're all really very conscious of the melody and lyrics and what we're trying to do, or when it's, now get out of the way for this solo, part the C's and make room for it. I think that only happens well when a band knows how to listen to each other. And I feel like everyone's always competing with each other, and other groups where they're not exactly sure where their place is, but your parts should ebb and flow together. And I think
come across like you all get along. You know what I mean? I made the mistake of watching a documentary about a month or so back about the Police. And I'm like, geez, Louise, fist fights in the studio and over a hi-hat drum beat. Are you kidding me? Settle down, Sting. Who do you think you are, Sting? Oh.
Yeah, I think we all got pretty close actually during the pandemic because we had just bought a house in the South End. Oddly, our drummer is a realtor and sold us our house. And so we all live within a 5-7 minute drive. And so we became that quarantine. And we all got really tight in that time, and we're all really good friends, and we all hang out as a group with spouses and everything. And we're good friends. We're super tight. We respect each other. We have a good time together, and all of that comes across.
Yeah. It's interesting, and I did not know this, but it's interesting. I have dated, back in my wolfing around days, tried to date a couple gals that were in the arts. They were painters themselves, and maybe they weren't as far down the trough as I was, and it became issues. My wife now, she's a sculptress, and she's phenomenal. Man, I tell you, right before Christmas, I got this order in. The Northern Lights had been shining, and they got all the way down to Michigan, and this client had taken a picture of her parents' farm with the Northern Lights, and she wanted me to paint that and give it so she could give it to them for Christmas. Okay, not a problem. There's no women up to no good in it, but I think I can handle a farm silhouette with some Northern Lights. Did the farm, no problem. Everything looked great. The sky looked great. Those Northern Lights were giving me they were hard to do. And I'm in here bitching, the dog's hiding under the table because Papa's upset. And finally my wife comes in and she goes, what are you on and on about? And I'm like, they're not looking right. This ain't anime Tokyo. This needs some subtlety to it. And I'm not getting it. I have repainted this sky 7 times at this point. And she goes, do you mind if I take a crack at it? I thought I would have a problem with that, but I was so desperate because this had to get done and shipped. I don't want to be the cat to ruin Christmas. So I'm like, here's the brushes and give me a palette. And she started going to work on that. She was like the accountant doing a puzzle. I was impressed. And I pulled up a chair, sat down, started watching, and she goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm taking notes because I'm learning something here that I need to know, obviously. And we finished it and it looked phenomenal. And I'm like, oh, now I got to tell the client that this was a collaborative effort. How are they going to respond? I was worried about that.
That's special.
Oh yeah, and that's what they said. They say my ego be damned, and it didn't matter because they paid the second half of the fee, and everything was good, and they loved it, and it all worked out. But I'm saying you come into these weird situations when you're working with your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever. It doesn't matter. You're working with somebody. They're in the same field. And sometimes you have to just leave your ego at the door in those situations and get the job done. You two seem to have that down without a problem. You know what I mean?
It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
From what I've seen. Now, don't get me wrong. My wife will get on me because sometimes I'll put projects off to the last minute for whatever reason. And she's, hey, Picasso, it's time. You haven't picked up a paintbrush in 2 days now. What's going on? I'm like, I got 6 shows I got to record this week, and I got other stuff in my head. And she goes, we better figure it out. We'll have to get you a pizza delivery job or something. And I said, that won't work. I'll eat all the pizzas. Are you kidding me? No, but it's cool. It's cool that you guys can do that, is what I'm saying. I think it's impressive. It can be done, ladies and gentlemen. It can be done.
It's not easy, but there's a lot of give and take, and then you have to already respect them as an artist and their own. You know, she was wonderful before I met her, and I was downright amazing.
And super humble.
It's so humble. Oh God, I just love to think about how humble I am. But it was easy to go and be reminded, because most of the time Stace has final say about the direction, about which way we're going, and if it matches a feeling that we're aiming for. We all kind of pepper in different things, but if it doesn't align with something that she can get on board with, then we'll just do it for now, and then
maybe course correct a little bit on this one.
Yeah.
My wife's the last say on any painting you ever see me post. The last part of my painting process is sealing it. Once I seal it, I can't work on it anymore because the paint won't match what's already laid down.
Yeah.
So before I seal it, I call in the boss and I'm like, what do you think? And sometimes it's hard. I hear you, Will. Sometimes she's right eye there. It doesn't seem, I'm like, it's in the reference picture that they sent me. That's what she looks like. And she's like, got to make her look a little different. And I'm like, okay. But that happens. And sometimes it's hard to hear criticism. Even when you've been through the process thousands of times, it's still because you've worked hard on something. But yeah, I need her nod of approval. Even if she's out of town, I'll take a picture of the thing and send it to, okay, what do you think? Are we good to go on this one? Because your name's on it, your name's on it, and you don't want to be putting stuff out there that's subpar. I got enough subpar paintings from years ago on my website that I would love to redo. And she's, no, people love that painting. They bought that painting. They love it. You can't take it down and then paint it at your skill level now. You know what I mean? That's not fair to that client. And she's right. But there's some I cram like, I was obviously partying pretty hard during this period of, I don't do that now. And lo and behold, the paintings got better. It's amazing. Goes to show. Anyhow, let's play a track so people know what we're talking about and how good the band is. I am just so impressed by this. We got two we're playing tonight. One of my favorite named tracks of all time, Muffin Fluff, or we got You're Mine. What should we hit everybody with first, do you think?
I'm with the Muffin Fluff.
I'm telling you, how could you not? Death by Overkill, everybody. This is Muffin Fluff. Check this out. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. I told you, Muffin Fluff. It's amazing. It's amazing. We were just talking. These are all available. What we're playing tonight is available digitally. It's on wherever you get your music. And this is one of the cool things that I was just informed of that I didn't know. They have vinyl, hot pink vinyl. People always ask me anyway. They're like, you got these cool bands on. Where should we get their music? Where's the best place? If you're local, go to a show. I've never been to a rock show that there wasn't a merch table at. I've ran the merch table a bunch of times when I was a kid. That's how I got to see the shows from my friends' bands that were playing. Everybody works. But if you're in Portugal or something, you can't get to a show, I get it. I will say this. If you ever come across, you find a band you dig, if you can buy their music direct from the band, Streaming's great. Streaming's great. It gives a global platform. I'm on Spotify with the show and everything and all of that, iHeartRadio, all that stuff. But the thing is, think of streaming. When you buy streaming, you're buying a pie, and there's slices in the pie. And I don't want to give anything away, or everybody's got Google, they can figure this out. But the slice of pie that the streaming service gets is way different than what the musicians get, the people who made the music. Personally, I feel if that was any other business, there would be fraud charges brought up. It's really the whole reason the streaming site's in business is because of all these musicians. That's the reality of it. I think they should be treated a little. I don't know. It's weird. The music business is crazy. Like, you guys got merch and stuff like that. A friend of mine from LA, I don't know if this is how they do it in Seattle, but they were telling me that the big thing for some of these larger venues now, they're charging a merch fee, a percentage of that merch table.
Yeah, well, it's the larger size venues. They'll basically do a tax on what you sell. Some places, as a precaution, they'll do a tax on what you could sell, so then you're like, all right, so how much of this? Because you got whatever 5-10 grand worth of merch you're bringing in, and you're like, we're gonna bring in $50 worth of stuff, and
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not giving these bastards a cut. Yeah. But it really depends if that's part of the tour circuit that you're on, or part of the venue. If you're like, I've been dying to play, I don't know, the Whiskey a Go Go or something like that. Yeah, they'll take a cut.
It's crazy.
And they'll keep it with 12 bands.
When you guys play like in the Seattle scene, do they charge? Do they say, okay, yeah, you guys can play? Is it a pay to play type situation? They're like, you're responsible for these 300 tickets, and you better sell them.
The standard is you got to pay for the sound guy, you got to pay for the night. Yes, that comes out of what you make from the door. So in that regard, any band, that's just standard business, though.
Yeah, right? They got expensive rent they got to go and cover. There's multiple ways that you can, if you actually think you got the numbers to justify it, you can just buy out the night. You can just say, whatever the venue is, Crocodile, how much does it cost? And they're like, I don't know, $2,500. And you're like, excellent, here's $2,500. So I'll charge what I want, and you're not getting a cut of anything else. We're taking a percentage of the bar, and you're like, yeah, I made easily 10 grand that night because I was expecting to have 300 people there, and you're like, it was a piece of cake to go and do that. But if I would have done your nickel and diming with you, it would have been a lot harder. But you got to have the numbers to command that. But that's one way people get around that kind of way. But if you don't have the numbers,
you got to build up. You got to build it up. I used to do that when I lived in San Diego. When I first hit in the art world, I would do that. I would have art shows, wait around for a I'm like, gallery, smallery. I don't want to share my profits. Number one, I want the whole piece. I want the whole pie. Yeah. And what I would do is, I knew all these nightclub owners and stuff. I'm like, how are Thursday nights up before 10 o'clock? Because I know you get busy at 10 o'clock because it's 80s night or whatever. And whatever they had going on. And they're like, we're not making anything, man. We got a couple drunks that come in, and we're making $25 in highballs. That's about it. Yeah. And I'm like, I'd like to rent the club for this 3-hour period, and I'll pay for a bartender and everything. You keep all the drinks money. And they're like, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to have an art show. And we hung big curtains throughout the dance floor, and then got the paintings on the curtains, connected them. And so teardown it took 10 minutes. You just drop the curtains. And suddenly I had this cool venue that was already set up. As long as I left it in a good condition for the next crew to come in and have their night, things were golden. And everybody's like, wow, you're getting all these nightclub art shows. It's like a pop-up art show. How cool is that? And I'm like, I paid for it. But yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah, you're right. And that's one of the things, guys. I know everybody, and I'm specifically speaking to you in Council Bluffs, Iowa, or wherever you're at, that you're in your band and your band's cool and everything. You got to build up a following. And today, I think social media is important in that. You got to build up a following. Because when you do, you can approach these venues from a better position. You know what I mean? And it's great. I lived in Las Vegas for a summer and for about 6 months. And I used to go to this place called the Bunkhouse Saloon. I don't even know if it's still there. I don't know if they still do this, but what they did is they would run a Z tape. They're like, but it was weird because Las Vegas is weird. They would have bands that start at 3 in the morning and play till 5 because it's a 24-hour town.
Right.
There's no cover charge because you can't, you're competing against all these giant MGM and stuff who's got Shakira that night. It's how do you compete with that? So they would just, there was never a cover charge, but they would run a Z tape at the beginning of your set time, and then they would run one at the end, and you got 25% of what the bar made, the club made. And I thought that was pretty fair. There was no question to it. Of course, they were getting all the casino money from the games and stuff. You didn't get any of that. But it's crazy. But you got to be aware of this stuff, guys. You got to listen. Find a cool band that's doing well, watch everything they do, and take notes. Honestly, that's the best teacher you can find because they're doing this. You know what I mean? They've long since had all the bullshit problems that you're probably going to have because these guys already built up their learning curve. They're like, we know not to do that. That's the kiss of death. This is smart to do it this way. But yeah, I would think logically that would work pretty well. You know what I mean? I don't know. See if you can set up an apprentice situation where you do the teardown for them while they do shots of Jaeger.
Yeah.
I don't know. They might spend all the money. If you're serious about getting into that, turning your band, if you're just trying to meet girls or something and be cool, there's been quite a few bands that went pretty far doing that too, but it is a bit show business. So that's the point I'm trying to make. A lot of creative people have a hard time with the business side of whatever they're doing. You guys seem to have a pretty good beat on it. You bought a house. Yeah.
You just gotta be willing to hustle, willing to grind, and I'm sure it's much like being an artist. You can't just be an artist. You can't just be a musician. You have to kind of do all aspects of it. So that's how we stay afloat. Whether it's this is where our passion is and where we want to be, you still have to teach. You still have to go and repair and try to go and make things better and help others along the way. And
yeah, that's the coolest job in the world. I'm telling you, that's got to be a cool feeling too. That you guys have a situation. There's a lot of people out there that want to be doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? That you got to think about that at least every so often. You wake up in the morning and you're like, I don't feel like it, but I got to. And there's people watching that shit if you sleep.
It's hard to think of it in those terms, like because you're always analyzing the world around you, and so you're not really thinking about it from someone else's perspective sometimes. You're maybe just the people that you're like, oh man, they're doing so well. But you're right. You do gotta go, another day I get to do music. How awesome is that?
Yeah, absolutely. You guys are from a music town. There's a lot of history with Seattle from where you're from.
Yeah, everyone's pretty fantastic in music here.
Yeah, exceptional. Do you ever feel pressure about that, though? You're like, fuck, man, I got to bring it.
We're spectacular. We never worry about that. No, of course. Do you ever feel that?
There's so much diversity in the music scene. I don't feel like it's competitive. It's not in the way of, I have to live up to someone else's. There's so much different stuff going on that it's apples and oranges.
And that is very wise, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care if you're baking biscuits or you're painting or making music. Get over it. The only person you should be comparing yourself to is you yesterday. Are you better than you were? I don't know if this happens in music, in the art world. And I'm talking the Friday night art scene. We're renting a booth for $50 or whatever. A lot of those cats haven't been to a level beyond that. And so they all, I don't want to lose customers. And somebody that would buy from me is going to buy from, screw that. There's 8 billion people on the planet. There's somebody that digs your stuff. So focus on finding them. This competitive stuff, it annoys me because it's a time waster. You waste a lot of time worrying about that kind of shit when you should be doing whatever it is you're doing.
Also, some cities aren't the same. Like, at least we've noticed that Seattle's not. It's more we as a city rise up. It's particularly geographically the hoods of that, the Georgetown hood or the West Seattle hood or your yeah. So then all of a sudden, when one does well, then people are like, "Oh man, those bands are doing well up there," and so it just becomes exciting. You want to be part of that too, and yeah, the competitiveness isn't really there. The only thing that's competitive is to find a sicker riff than those guys had.
I'm not saying don't flex at what you're doing, ladies and gentlemen. Even I, every so often, but I don't do it every painting. Every so often, though, I gotta throw a flex in there, and even if I'm the only one who knows about it, I've never been called out for you're showing off. Of course I am, and that's what I do. But get good at it. The more you work, the better you get at anything. Doesn't matter what it is. That's just the way of the world. Let's play another track, guys. Let's play another track. Let's do the one, You're Mine. Now this is a cover, you were telling me. I did not know that. But I just thought it rocked and everything. This is a favorite, I assume, of your guys's.
Yeah. They're a big influence and super fan. And I figure this song came out over 10 years ago, so
yeah,
it's not too soon.
And we do it better. So.
Sometimes covers, though, I was just at a party having this conversation. We were talking about It's My Life. I don't know if that's the name of the song. I think it is. By No Doubt. It was a cover of a band called Talk. Yeah.
Talk.
And Talk Talks was great. I'm a big Talk fan. Gotta say.
So we can relate, am I right?
See, I'm the opposite. I thought Gwen Stefani's version, or No Doubt's version, was better. But you know what? It's if I'm being honest about that, if I'm being fully transparent, anybody who's seen my paintings, they're like, yeah, James, the video, yes, it's all women killing men and stuff. A glamorous woman up to no good. That is a staple of what I paint. And so, of course, that's probably why I dig it. The other one was I like animals.
But you're talking about the visuals.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the music. Sonically,
you're right.
It really didn't make any kind of a departure from the original. It's very similar sounding. It's kind of just like a rinse and repeat.
You are right. I can't argue with that because you're absolutely correct. And she called me out, folks. I'm a painter. Of course, that's the music. That's the expression that I take probably more note of. Turquoise hair. I'm Native American also, so I got a thing for turquoise. But I'm kidding. Don't send me emails, people. It was a joke. I will get emails from that. And from not native people. Not my native friends won't email me on that. My white friends will email me on that. Jamie, don't. Come on, Jamie. It's the world we live in. Anyway, let's play the track, and then we'll come back and we'll talk more about the world we live in. How about that? This is You're Mine. Check this out, everybody. And we're back, everybody. That was Your Mind, Death by Overkill. That's the band. That's the band. As I mentioned, we have all these links below. When you find a cool band, ladies and gentlemen, that you like, or cool indie film, whatever it is, share that. Add it to your playlist, especially if you're a band. That helps tremendously with the algorithms and whatnot. But let your friends know, because the whole reason you're friends with people is you guys have common interests. So if you're thinking something's cool, there's a real good chance that your friends are going to dig it. And you're going to be the party star because you discovered this cool band, at least from your friend's perspective.
You're the maven.
Yeah, how cool is that? Hey, and also remember, with the streaming sites we were talking about earlier, a cool thing you can do is when you buy an MP3 off of any of these, they ask, where do we send it? I want you to pop in an email. If you're working in an office selling insurance or whatever, and it's somebody's birthday, yeah, everybody's going to get them a card. And if you want to James Bond this shit, though, buy them an MP3. You got their email, That's a cool birthday present, is all I'm saying. And it's cheaper than a card. How about that?
It's a great idea.
Yeah, I'm telling you. The band, again, Death by Overkill. You guys are playing out all the time and whatnot. Is the best way to find out, just follow your social media and check out your website and whatnot?
Yeah.
Yeah, www.deathbyoverkill.com.
There you go. Very cool. I know you guys got stuff you got to do. And I really want to thank you guys both for coming on the show and classing the joint up here. Yeah. Keep doing what you're doing. You're real good at it. Seriously. You guys know that. You know that. Very cool. And you folks out there, remember the world's still a weird place. Just be kind, be patient with people. And if you see, what do they always say? If you see something, say something. That goes equally if it's bullshit. So if you see some bullshit going down, honk your horn. I just watched a thing, I think it was in Minneapolis, where these fire trucks, some particular agent showed up, and the fire truck showed up too, and they started running their sirens and causing all kinds of chase the other guys out of the area. Just saying. We're all punkers at heart, punk rocks. Remember that. Anyway, have a good one, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one. And thank you both.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time, everybody.
This has been pop art painter Jamie Roxx's Pop Rocks Radio Talk Show. It has been executive produced by Jamie Roxx, recorded at his studio in Deerfield Beach in South Florida. All rights reserved by Pop Rocks Limited. Hannah Oli, Pop Rocks Radio. Estás escuchando Jamie Roxx de Pop Rocks Radio. Manténganse al tanto.
Hej, det här är Hicks från Sverige och ni lyssnar till Pop Rocks Radio med Jamie Roxx.